Overseer's Log 10, The Enlightened and the Dim. Hello, Vault Dwellers. Welcome back to a new episode of the Overseer's Log. This is our companion podcast series that accompanies our Fallout 2D20 TTRPG campaign, Tales from Tomorrow, Under the Mothman's Embrace. That was the theme of the last episode of the show. If you tuned in on Sunday or caught our syndicated episode on Wednesday, you'll have noticed that our players had a very interesting encounter with Mothman cultists, and they are ramping up for their first battle with them tomorrow, April 13th. So if you get the chance, come around, watch it over on YouTube, watch it on Twitch. We'll have it syndicated to YouTube throughout the week, but this is going to be an exciting episode, I think. Our players in the last, this is going to be spoiler territory, this is the recap episode after all, but in our last episode, episode 10, the players kidnapped two Mothman cultists. They thought they were going to interrogate them and get information, but those cultists had a completely different idea in mind. They were not willing to divulge any information, and that has changed the town physically, but it has also set some things in motion across Appalachia, and it's going to have some ramifications for our players in the future. I will keep my cards close to my chest for the time being, but they are going to feel the Mothman's embrace completely, one way or another, soon enough. We will see how they prepare for those moments and gear up for those moments. If you were some little plot lines that may have gotten lost at this point in the series, they were kind of alluding to getting some power generation online for the whole of the region. That would be like turning on some of the nuclear power plants. They talked about, Foundation, I guess, proposed that they're looking to reestablish the rail lines. But most recently, Rusty Dusty Bones had informed our players that there's a boat to retrieve, and that boat is behind the Mothman cultists. Can't speak. So what I'm gathering from all these different threads that both I've set out there and that my players have chosen to tug upon and some that they've suggested themselves, they're really building this region up. And once they have these stronger supply chains going, whether it's rail or boat or, they recently got the radio connectivity set up for the region, they can start to control a bit of the flow of the game and where they move to, whether they want to stay in this one quadrant of the map, whether they want to expand out from there, whether they want to explore areas off the beaten path. I have set them up to go across the Ohio Bridge into, across the river that we can't access in Fallout 76. There's a couple quests that I've set up over there that I have alluded to them. These are threads to tug upon later. So we're going to see what direction they all go after this. I think that boat's going to give them some really cool utility, considering they were telling me they wanted to set up some factories in the town. I can't remember how many of them I've had this conversation with, but if they choose to have this fishing boat, they could go out and do all kinds of fishing. They could can it, sell it, all kinds of stuff like that. I feel like I heard that fishing's even coming to Fallout 76 soon, so maybe that's an interesting time to have that intersection that they'll be able to fish from their boat just at the time that players in 76 can actually do that with their characters. Just seems like a fun little trade-off, keeping the games interlinked in some fashion. But I'm going to keep today's episode extremely short. The house here has a couple guests in it, and we're hanging out and playing some video games upstairs. So I just wanted to make sure to do this little check-in. I really wanted to have my players come by, but no one's schedules worked out on Thursday night. So it was just Mac and I hanging out and chat. We decided to kind of like wing it. We were playing 7 Days to Die, if anyone plays that game. Absolutely love it. So we did that. This is just, again, a very quick check-in. That last episode has a fantastic ending. I'm so happy with the way episode 10 ended. Although I want to say I'm so sorry poor DK was not feeling well and didn't attend the whole episode. It wound up working out really well in the end, just because he was saying, he was kind of sluggish and tired and all the rest and didn't really have much direction for his character that night. So whenever we kind of let him rest in town, it really allowed Mac and Skylar, Sam, to really dive into their characters further. And I think that's really good. I think it's great for people to have different chances to shine. That being said, we will see what happens on 420 here, holiday. But on 420, I believe we have no Skylar, no Sam, and that just depends if DK and Mac feel comfortable carrying the show without him, or if they want to take a night off, or oh my goodness, we could actually all come together and do just some character questionnaire sort of stuff, but that also depends on them and how much energy they want to bring to the table. When I say questionnaire, I mean they could spend some time developing their characters either in-game or out of game together as a group. But that sort of just depends, again, if they feel like they want to do that. I think Sam sort of is the natural leader of the group that's come forward, kind of checking in with them and giving a little bit of directive. So to not have him this week, we'll see what that's like. By the way, I say this week, that means it's upcoming. So they're going to be here the 13th. We got everybody. But the 20th, we will be out one Skylar, a.k.a. Sam. So look out for that. We'll see what that does for this. I was going to say that might mean we can it for a week. We might have a little talky episode. We might do a full thing. Stay tuned. I don't know. I want to very briefly talk about some upcoming 1 to 3 shot campaigns I'm planning for this summer. If timing and scheduling and everything works out, we are going to organize some community games over on Discord. These will probably, actually almost guaranteed, will not be live streamed, though we might record them and syndicate them to YouTube later. That being said, this is going to be an opportunity for people in the community to sort of step up and show off their skills and sort of comfortability when it comes to talking to groups online and on camera, not even on camera, but on Discord and all the rest. So it's a good way to feel out the community. I'd always love to invite new people to the show. Just so everyone out there knows, I also have this bit of my mind that likes to make sure we know who we're playing with. Safety rules and synergy above all else. And that's just a general rule I would stress for all groups in D&D, is that you have to have a group that works together and is comfortable together. And that takes meeting each other. That takes experimenting and doing things like that. So again, the idea is we'll host a 1, maybe some 3 shots. So that would be a single episode, maybe 3 episode arcs. And we'll kind of record those. And if they work out well, we'll put them up on YouTube. And if they don't, for any reason under the sun, we will just hold on to those and have those as a little memory and a learning experience. But it's just, like I say, a good way to meet some people in the community. Meeting online, you never know what people's skill sets are or interests are or ability to, mesh with each other. So I hope the people that are out there that listen to this, I hope that makes sense. But it's going to be a way to test the water. So if you've been curious about trying the Fallout 2D20 system, that would be a great opportunity to do so. Now, we got some people in the Discord who are already excited to make their characters, and I think it's important to tack this on here and say, I do not have a campaign setting locked in yet. So when it comes to making your characters, just be very mindful to not become overly attached to one tune. You could make 3 or 4 different characters and kind of get them all ready and keep them with loose backgrounds so you can plug them in when the time comes. But I would stress when it comes to doing, signing up for someone's one shot or any other campaign out there, if you want to create a character in advance, be prepared for it to be a little loosey-goosey. Be okay with changing things up. I told the person in Discord, I said, don't get too locked to any background necessarily, because you're going to have to eventually fit into this plot one way or the other. Just because it's going to be a one-shot. This is not a sandbox campaign where I, the DM, are going to be able to accept all kinds of different characters. These are going to be really isolated, specific 1 to 3 episode arcs, and so people are going to need to come up with characters that fit. And what I mean by that is one of the campaign ideas is going to be us just playing as vault dwellers within a vault with some sort of mystery or attachment like that. So in that case, you're going to want to have a vault dweller origin. You're going to want to probably avoid ghoulification. I was asked that in the Discord server, and I said to them that we would hold off on that. I'm just saying here in the episode, probably not going to do ghoulification because that will factor into the entirety of the vault, and it's going to affect all kinds of different things in that ecosystem. So just, if you're cool with flying by the seat of your pants, until we have the actual rules, you're fine to make characters now. You're fine to experiment with ideas of what you'd like. I guess the rough estimation would be we're going to have an in-vault episode. We're going to have some above-ground episodes too. So you could prepare for both or either. I will keep table sizes to about 5 at most. Probably, honestly, 4 on Discord. I think probably no more than 4 players on Discord. Unlike at a real physical table, those side conversations, you can't have them. The side conversations on Discord are the primary conversation. And so the more voices you invite into a call, the harder it's going to be and the less time each person's going to have to talk and develop their characters. So keeping the table to about 4 will probably be it. As for timing, that's an interesting one. We will always wrap our games by 10 p.m. Going forward here, Eastern time. So the games will end by 10 p.m. Eastern time. We might be able to offer some of them midday. That might actually work out a little bit better for some of my scheduling here, especially on Saturdays. I could see a midday Saturday game that's part of this one-shot campaign or 3-shot campaign. Sorry for this so rambly of an idea. I'm literally thinking this through live as I record this, so it's going to be unedited and unpolished, and that's okay. Let people have a little insight into my brain. What else is worth reporting on that note? Yeah, just love this last episode. Love that sandbox campaign. Love the idea of doing some community 1 to 3 shots. Love the idea of working people into the primary sandbox campaign if people are a good fit. So if we have people that are really good fits to these one-shots, they do really well in there, they thrive in that environment, I would love to start having some recurring guest characters come into the primary campaign. And here's something I will tease a little bit. Hell's Bells was that. Hell's Bells was a friend of ours that we met on Twitch. She was one of the people that sort of ultimately, as a Twitch viewer, kind of ghosted in the end. She just went her own way. We never really figured out what she was up to, but she had made this character and she did some great role-playing, really great role-playing in the first episode that she premiered in. We actually didn't record this episode. This was on Discord, just private. And she knocked it out of the park, but then she never came back, I think. I think she only did 1. So maybe it wasn't her cup of tea, whatever it was, but she rocked it. She was just stellar. She so naturally took to the role. And I think it's a lot of the reason why Hell's Bells is still a character in the campaign. Now, look into my psyche, I still feel a little bit weird when I have Hell's Bells there in the campaign, which is sort of all the time now, but like I still feel a little weird about her because she's not my creation. And I guess she is now. In a way, she's sort of a gift to the campaign and the creativity and all that. But I think there's still that part of my brain that's like, this is someone else's character. Like this is not a Kyle creation. This is someone else's pride and joy. And it makes me feel a little bit bad to throw her into certain environments that I don't know how she would necessarily react. I guess it's, again, my job to take agency of that now. But also, it does remind me of friends lost. You know, the person that played Hell's Bells was a really, really active Twitch viewer and such like that. So it always stinks when you lose people that are regulars. Just a reminder that your content creators do notice your absence. You know, we exist and we're real and we have feelings, and when people stop viewing streams or stop coming by the community, you know, that absence is felt. Unless you're a troll. Unless you're annoying and a troll and causing problems, in which case that's a whole different can of worms. I forget about them faster than I forget where I left my shoes. What else do I have to say today? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit rambly. I talked to you about the campaigns. Was there anything else? I mean, I'm all over the place. I will shout out that we still have the 20% off Bethesda codes. There are B-Tails 11, B-Tails 12, and B12. Oh my God. B-Tails 13. I'm not editing this out. You're getting all the flubs. So again, it's B as in Bethesda, Tales as in story, Tales like our title, and then the codes, the numbers at the end are 11, 12, or 13 accordingly. And when those expire, we will amp the numbers up. So guess what? You can expect 14, 15, and 16 in the next week. So thank you all for checking those out. Thank you all for following over on TikTok and YouTube especially. I'm really trying to get those places boosted. The TikTok view count is a hard one. The YouTube short view count has been doing phenomenal. We have been getting like 2,000 views on a lot of these shorts recently. And for those that are not already following them, most of the shorts I do, I try and do 2 a day at least. One of them is usually like product B-reel. So I set up little sets here with some of the Fallout props, and then I film a little flyby with the camera and show that stuff off. The other one is sort of AI-generated clips from the series. So like it just goes through my Twitch stream and it clips out good moments. and then it posts those automatically. Those were doing really poorly. They were getting like 10 views, 50 views. Now those ones too have gone up into the 1,000, like 1,000, 2,000, which is crazy to me. It's slow but steady growth. And there are some duds, no doubt. Some of them don't get into the algorithm, and I usually private those ones and try and repost them a later date, because I don't think it's people disliking the content so much as it is the algorithm just doesn't share it at that moment. Anyway, that's what this thing is for. This is a diary of the pros and the cons and the wins and the losses. To that end, a huge shout out. We got such a nice compliment recently over on YouTube on one of these overseer logs. A person, I don't know if I can still find it handily. Renee over there says more DMs should do these log style discussions of their campaigns. Renee, thank you so much for that comment. I really appreciate that. That's really nice to hear, because this was just something I think it was just something I wanted to do. I like decompressing episodes to any series. I've done a couple podcasts in my past, a couple video game shows. We did one about the paranormal in the past, all kinds of fun stuff. And I'm of the mindset of one primary episode a week and one decompression episode a week, one background episode a week. I kind of like that. And it's more for the super fans, the people that really like the content. They want more than just the action. But I find I like that. And you know who else does stuff like this? I mean, I'm not new to doing this. I just want to make that very clear. It kind of came to me just of my own history and repetition. But just a shout out that Critical Role has something called Four-Sided Dive, which is a similar thing. They don't do it for every episode, though they do have a little like short aftermath thing. Like, and I if we had more time in our schedules, we'd probably do something like that too. Record the post-stream banter, because there is a little bit of talking and decompressing that we do on our side. Usually it's me reminding people of the flexibility and the freedom they have in the world. Like, a lot of the times after a session, people say like, oh, I really like this thing and I really like this. And I'll say, hey, just, as a reminder, because you talked to so-and-so today, in the future, you could always do X, Y, and Z. You could always call upon this person for help or whatever. So it's just little nudges of mine. We're all learning together. We don't know how this works. This is my first time DMing. This is my player's first time playing. So it's, it's something for us all to come together and try our best, have some fun experiences, ask questions. And that'll be the same thing for the one-shots and the three-shots. I want that to be a very friendly process. And that's the advantage of them being such short campaigns, is I feel like I can tell people, if we're going to do a three-shot, I will say, hey, I need you to book out these 3 windows for this month. Saturday, book out these 3 hours, and that's it. And, if people can do that and accomplish that, I think they're going to have a great time. But there's the nature of trying to get everyone together as well, right? Like, and this is why in the future I'd also like to have a collective of people who want to do recurring roles, who could come by and add some excitement to it. For example, in the next episode, when we don't have Sam here, it'd be cool if we could invite another person in and maybe have them kind of throw a quest at our players and be like, hey, I really need you to help me with this today. And I think what would be really fun is to work with those people, just as a brief little exchange whenever they're going to come onto the show as a guest character. We could kind of talk about what their character needs for development this week. Like, hey, you haven't been on the show in a month or so. Like, what do you want to lean your character into this week? Do you want them to kind of help you clear out your farm of bad things? Do you want them to help you break into this, I want to say vault, but that sounds like a large, multi-week thing. You can think of it yourself. Recover a vertibird, whatever the heck they're trying to do that week. I think it'd be really fun to have a cast of recurring people that might be interested in that. I myself think I'd love that. I think that would be so much fun if I ever got invited to someone's campaign to join in for about like a week's time and just really heavily lean into your character, like play them up, ham them up, be them completely because you don't need them later. Or maybe it's not that you don't need them later, but their moments on development and on camera are less. So when you do have those moments, you want to burst that content in. And also, I'll shout out a characteristic, a trait that'd be really important for anyone looking to do that. You'd have to understand your position in that universe. and maybe more specifically at that table. Recognizing that your character is both having this week to kind of lead them to act as like a almost in-game GM of sorts. You're kind of leading them on this adventure, getting help, whatever it is from them, but also recognizing that your character is a recurring character, not a main character. And that shouldn't be offensive to any player that takes that position either. Like that is just kind of the psyche of someone that, would fit that mold well, as someone that knows like, hey, I'm guesting on this. This is not my beast. I am just here to have fun. I am going to lead these characters on this fun adventure, this wild goose chase today. We're going to really ham it up. I'm going to play into my characters, role play and accent or whatever it is. And then know that your character is going to go pretty much on ice and maybe come back in the future for some other scenes here and there. So if that sounds interesting to people, it's this really casual thing, feel free to let me know. That has been something I've wanted to do from the very start. It's something I think we'll definitely get into as time goes on. Another question comes up for my players, which is how long they want to do this primary campaign for. And that is just something that they can think about for as long or as short as they want. They've talked already about like, well, if my character dies, I'm going to come back as this character. That really excites me because earlier on, they were not ready for their characters to die. Like they were adverse to that. And I think it had to do with the investment of creating a whole character up front. And plus they were learning the entirety of the rule system on the top of that. But now that they're more acclimated to it, I don't think it's such a concern. If they die, they kind of know what they want to play next. And they have a good idea of where they would put their points if they wanted to make a new character with different specs. Without further ado, with keeping in our time limit for today, I'm going to put a pin in it and just say it was an absolute blast. A last thing I will tease is that up on TikTok and Instagram, I did do some AI art for the show's kind of top 10 moments I pulled out. They're little looks at where our characters have been, from reactivating the Protectrons to fighting the Mirelurks to meeting Rusty Dusty Bones and some more. I think we're going to start incorporating those into the future. I know not everyone loves AI art. I have my gripes and concerns with it as well. But I am a one-man band doing all of this, and if I could afford an artist in the future, I'd actually, for many reasons, like to move to using a real human artist. That being said, I'm no kind of millionaire. I'm not even a thousandaire. So I don't know how much I could afford to actually pay an artist for their time. Which leads us to the thefty world of AI art in general, and I'm not a fan of that in a large way, but it is crazy awesome to see these scenes come to life, and I'm very interested in how it can catch people's eye on YouTube, because ultimately, this is a labor of love for me still, regardless of YouTube or clicks or anything like that. It's a labor of love, and I never want the administrative side to take up more than the creative side. And that's what I've always seen AI for. And as much as we have gripes about what AI is right now, I am a Star Trek man at heart, and I desire the future when I can just walk on the bridge and say, computer, blah, 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 and it, can generate me all kinds of ideas and diagrams and images and throw it up on the holodeck and all the rest. So I hate the people that control AI, but I think it's a very interesting tool. I've really been using ChatGPT for these images, which uses DALL-E for those nerds out there. I'm not a huge AI art man. Like I don't do all the different models and all that other stuff. I'm not that into it. But I have been making style guides and trying to feed it some information about what images I want done. And I was very impressed by this little Instagram and TikTok post. If you want to go check those out, check out the Tales from Tomorrow page, and you can see those there. But otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow, Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, unless anything weird happens. I guess I will say something weird has already happened. Today, my mixer was all weird and was frozen up, like software-wise, and it wasn't muting channels for me, so that was scary. It had me thinking like, oh no, I really don't want anything bad to happen for tomorrow's episode because I want to get this plot out before we lose Sky and Sam for that weekend. Like I want to, this would be a perfect hurdle or hump in the plot line for them to get over. If they secure this boat, big if, then maybe it's something that could be worked on in town later. Maybe, it gives us a lot of flexibility. So I will leave it here. I will say go use those Bethesda codes up on the site. Save yourself 20%. We get 10% back. Those are codes BTales 11, 12, and 13. And then I also have the BTales code for the Modifius site. So if you want to buy a copy of the Fallout 2D20 books, physical or digital, you go up there, use the code BTales, save yourself 10%. I get a 10% kickback on it. So buy big, buy all the minifigs. I'm partially kidding, partially not. If you got the money for it, do it. But also if you got the money for it, consider checking out our Patreon, which has nothing on it yet. Literally nothing. I'm so sorry. That has been such a back burner thing for me. We might do some special campaigns in the future for patrons as well. So if you are interested in diving into more than just these one-shot, three-shot things we put together this summer, I might start doing some other campaigns for people going forward. I am a guy who doesn't love the idea of hosting myself up on one of those websites where you sell your GMing time. There's no shade towards them. I just don't know that that's my cup of tea. I'm not that social of a person. Already we're talking about how we're using this as these like mini ones will be test beds for later. I don't know that I could put myself up on one of those websites. But what I could do is take a group of our patrons that we already know and trust and hang out with us and all the rest. And I could certainly find the time in my week to host another campaign for them. Like, that would be fun. I think I've got the brain capacity for at least one more regular campaign in my life. So if that interests you and you want to become a patron, check that out. I would really love any support you could give. It would greatly enhance the show. I have a computer that is aging, and I'd love to replace parts for it in the future because I'd like to do some Fallout 76 on stream. My current computer does not let me do that at all. It's having some real graphics issues. So, like I say, no pressure, but a consideration. A great way for everyone to help out completely for free is sharing the show. Tell your friends, share it in Discord servers where you're allowed and trusted and want other people to know about it. We'd love to have more TTRPG people come by. So again, if you want to try your hand at the game, we're going to be hosting some things about it. You can always ask questions as well, too. We love that sort of stuff. If you ever want to come by and talk about our campaign in particular, that's also on the table. So from our comrades all around, I want to thank you for listening. And I hope they will be back as a group in one of the next episodes. If not, I'm going to try and grab them piecemeal. I need to sit down like that night I had Mac with me. I told her, I was like, we should have recorded, but 7 days to die. So thank you all for being here. Catch up with you tomorrow. Have a good day, good night, and keep that vault clean.